five-time All-Star Marques Johnson.
Alongside Marques Johnson.
What's up, everybody? Hey, this is the Here District, captain of this vessel. And I got my first mate, my number one son, Chris Johnson.
What up? Talk to me.
Holla! Let it rain, man. Let it rain.
I guess what? We're going back into the Friday.
Yeah. Okay, pass us all the breakfast.
Okay, pass.
Go fight. Welcome, everybody, to the Here District. Marques Johnson.
You're listening to a Bucks Plus audio production on the Bucks Plus Network.
Your weekly pulse on the Milwaukee Bucks, straight from a Bucks legend. This is Here District with Marques Johnson, alongside his son and 1995 NCAA champion, Kris. Here's MJ.
All right, welcome everybody to Here District. I'm the captain of this vessel, and that's from an old early 80s, I believe, Lakeside, the Fantastic Voyage.
But folks would know the Coolio version, wouldn't they?
Whatever, man. No, we go to the original. We don't go to the remakes around here, bro. We go to the original. Your cousin and my cousin, our cousin Fred Alexander, was the drummer for Lakeside. He helped write that song. So anyway, I'm the captain. My first mate, Kris Johnson. We're the only father and son tandem. We got to say this, Lloyd, at the top of every show, just to remind people, man. Just to remind people, the only father and son tandem in the history of college basketball to win a national championship at the same school. At the same school. Now, there's been other fathers. Lloyd, can you give me the name of a couple of father and son national champions or one? Anybody come to mind? National champions, father and son. Chicago Bulls, second pick the year you drafted.
You actually talked about him in your doc. You talked about
Lloyd,
this guy.
Chicago Bulls, second pick, your draft year.
Second pick. Oh, God.
First pick, maybe first pick, Bulls.
Scott May?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Scott and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't want to remember Scott. He stole my girlfriend.
He stole one of mine too. The Wonder Horse here in Milwaukee. We'll get us a lot to hold.
The Wonder Horse.
Anyway, so Lloyd Walton, man, God, your journey has been just incredible, to say the least. And we go back to when I first came into the NBA from Los Angeles, West Coast, kind of introspective, Kris, a little. They try to call me shy. I don't know if I was I don't think I was more shy than just a little quiet and laid back, a little West Coast laid back. And Kris, Lloyd, don't
stop.
Lloyd showed me the ropes. Lloyd Walton, he showed me the ropes, a lot of different kind of ropes. So we're going to talk about some of those ropes as we proceed. But man,
sure.
But he was just you know how it is, Kris. And Kris, I was thinking about you. Did you ever have like a really good, me, like, so Ed Waters, the head coach at Crenshaw High School, Maxine Waters' son, he's like a point guard. I've always kind of gravitated to point guards for some reason. They were feeding me the ball. Lloyd was that dude. Yeah. Lloyd, welcome to Here District, man. How you living? Is life good for you? How you doing in 2025?
Look, Garvey, Kris, I have no complaints, man. Life is good. To be honest with you, it's better than I deserve, man. That's the way I feel, man.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a wonderful journey. People oftentimes say I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, there would be a few things I would change, but I have no complaints about my life today and where it is.
Yeah, yes, and I love that, man, and that's how I feel. I've been overpaid. You know what I mean? If it ended tomorrow, I've been overpaid and been blessed, and that's definitely my attitude because of whence we both came. But man, let's start off just talking about. Well, I want to throw this out there, Kris, this story. I don't know if I ever told you. So my rookie year, I got on like my little thin-ass London fog overcoat. It's about 20 below in Milwaukee. I come out of the locker room, nobody's around. And we were playing at the old Mecca, and there was a McDonald's restaurant right across the street where we used to park.
Okay.
So I'm cold, and I just got out the training room, out of the jacuzzi or whirlpool or whatever it was back in those days, and I run to my car, and it's about 20 below, and it's freezing, and I'm in my little London fog coat. So I get to my car lock, Kris, and I put my key in the car lock, and it won't turn. So I'm looking at the key. I noticed the right key. The key. I'm the only one out there. It's about 11 o'clock at night. I'm the only one out there. Nobody else around. Streets are just deserted. All of a sudden, talk about lucky. This little two-seater, green, right? Mercedes-Benz, two-seater, look, convertible two-seater.
Sweet.
Whipped around the corner. Lloyd rolled down his window. Garvey, what's up? You got a problem? I say, I can't get in my car. I don't know what's going on. Lloyd jumps out, has a cigarette lighter in his hand. Give me your key. He lights the key, heats up the key. It melts the lock that it froze. Your lock froze, Garvey. That's all, man. You okay? Get out of here, man. Your lock froze. Keep a lighter with you at all times.
That's that Chicago. That's that Chicago stuff.
But I don't know if you remember that, man. But that was just like my brutal introduction to the winners of Milwaukee, man. And just go ahead.
Absolutely, man. I remember. The thing about the McDonald's where we parked, I don't know if you remember this. That was owned by Wayne Emery.
Yeah, right, correct.
Right. So we could park there, right? Because of course they didn't have any parking lot for us, so we had to park in these other places. But I remember just a whole slew of different things as you would acclimate yourself to Milwaukee and the cold weather. Okay, it wasn't easy, I can tell you that. But I'll tell you this: I have a vivid picture of you coming in the door at training camp with a cap on. I think it was a UCLA cap, and I was like, so this is this damn Marques Johnson, huh? Okay.
What was your first impressions of him, Lloyd?
Well, Mike, the first thing to say, we played in the Final Four together. Okay. UCLA played North Carolina State, and we played Kansas in the semifinals, right? And so because they had won so many damn championships, they were the team of the team in NCAA, right? For 10 years, right? So our whole thing was, can't wait to play UCLA. Can't wait to play UCLA. We're going to show them, man. We're going to show them. And then they go and lose to North Carolina State, right? But we had a little gathering, I'll say, in the hotel where teammates and friends came together for a little wine. I'll keep it like that, a little wine together. That was my first introduction. And to be honest with you, because they won so much, TV was not saturated with college basketball. It was like a little bit in awe coming in a room where you see Marques Johnson, Bill Walton, players like that, because you heard about them, but you never really met them. So it was a little bit in awe. But when he walked into the training camp, man, I was like, okay, this that damn Marques Johnson, man. All right, we're going to see. But to your point, Marcus, any point guard with any sense, okay, is going to hang around with the best player, right? I wasn't crazy, man.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Yeah. No, and so to go back to that UCLA. So, Kris, I'm a freshman, 18 years old. I started about 7 or 8 games that year. There was a lot of animosity toward me because I was started as a freshman. Took Pete Turgevich's spot in the starting lineup. Coach Wooden told my dad, your grandfather, he called him up and said, Jeff, I just want to let you know, for the NCAA tournament, I'm going to go with my upperclassmen. So my dad said, well, you're going to lose with your upperclassmen. It's your team. Your team. Do what you got to do, but you're going to lose with your upperclassmen. So anyway, so I didn't start in the tournament. But this one, I don't know if that was in between the semis and the championship, but we were in Bill Walton's room, Maurice Lucas, I remember vividly. I think Marcus Washington might have been in there, Lloyd. And we were in there drinking and just doing just drinking. And
Is that the Ducky Drake? Did Ducky Drake come in? Was that story when he comes in? Hey, guys, dinner's at 7.
Dinner in 10 minutes.
Dinner
in 10 minutes, guys. But it was UCLA and Marquette, and I really believe that's where Bill and Maurice Lucas really, because they were having an in-depth conversation, and they were older. Luke was a junior, Bill was a senior, I believe, at that point, and so that was the first time. But let's go back even further, man. So we always talk about styles of play geographically, and so this whole Chicago. I start thinking about the great players all around, but the great point guards and yourself and Isaiah Thomas and Tim Hardaway. I'm probably leaving out
Derrick Rose.
D Rose. How can I leave out D Rose? But and so it's interesting. I mean, there's a similarity in terms of just ball handling skills and I don't know. You tell me what's the Chicago flavor what do you see it as in terms of how you produce basketball players?
I really think that Chicago guards were considered the tough guards, right? Don't back down. They want to compete against any and everybody. And to bring it up to date, you think about a Pat Bev, okay? Not,
Good.
scoring 35 a game in high school, but you look at him now in the league, okay, he's just tough. Don't nobody really want to be bringing up the ball, trying to get open with Pat Bev, and he'll go against anybody, highly competitive guy. And that's what most of us came from, okay? And I think it came from us being on the playground. I hate to say playground because that's non-existent now, but we learned we got our wares from being on that playground going against each other.
Yeah. And when I think about it, I think about all because Tim Hardaway was a rookie at Golden State when I was winding down my career. I'd been out 2.5 years with a neck injury. Nelly brought me up there. I played briefly 10 games for Golden State. But Tim was I like to say I wasn't he wasn't my rookie. I was like his vet. And so we hung out. We play one-on-one every day after practice. He kept teasing me about being. He called me one in a row because that's all I would make is like one shot in a row and then I miss. All right, one in a row. Come on, one in a row. Let's get this going.
That's cold-blooded, man.
He called me, but I'm thinking about the trash talking. You talked. I mean, you could talk with the best of them. You had this fiery attitude, man. Chris, I got to tell this story. Lloyd, I hope you don't mind, man. I hope you're still my friend.
No, go ahead.
But we're playing a game, Chris, at the Mecca, and it's halftime, and maybe Lloyd, I don't know, maybe Nelly got on him. I'm not sure what happened. He wasn't playing well, and so we had this priest, Father Gene Jacobus.
Wait, a real priest?
A real priest. A real priest. He had a show on TV and everything. Father Gene. And so Father Gene was standing at the locker, like at the entrance of the locker room, like he always does. God bless you. Yes, God be with you. So he says to Lloyd, yes, my son, God be with you. God bless you. And Lloyd's like, Father, get away from me with that bull crap. I don't feel like hearing that bull crap right now. Father, I don't want to hear that crap. Father, save that. And everybody was kind of stepping away. They didn't want to get struck by lightning. It's like, God dang, you talking to a priest like that. But he kept it as real as he could keep it.
Right.
But again, going back to Chicago, you grew up on the South Side. I was talking to Dame Lillard, Lord, about. I was up in the Oakland area this past week. My daughter Shiloh had a tournament. And so my good buddy from the 7th grade, George Arterberry, had been teaching up at Castlemont High School in East Oakland. When I say East Oakland, you can imagine what East Oakland anything East L.A., East whatever, anything East, is rough. And so he's teaching for a number of years. He taught Dame's cousins and all the little Lillards. But he's telling me about the mindset. And so I had a chance to talk to Dame about that before our game the other night against the Nets. And what did that do? He talked about that toughness, just. And he said it wasn't any kind of fake outward bravado. It was just an inner toughness. And it seems like that's what you're saying, that the guards that you mentioned, they all possess that same kind of quality. What is it? So it's the playground, it's the environment, the South Side. What was that like? Is that a tough neighborhood? Is that in terms of what are the other, to West Side and the other? Explain the sides to me of Chicago.
South Side was probably the last modern era in Chicago for Black people. Single family homes, right? Besides the projects, right? The projects were like what we call the low end, Robert Taylor, all those places, Cabrini Green. And the further you went south, you found these single family homes, two parent homes, people working every day, that kind of thing. But the playgrounds never changed, okay? And you think about, I don't care what, urban city you go to, back then, if you wanted to really play and stay on the court, you had to win. Yeah. So the only way you're going to win, you had to compete, okay? Yeah. And that was I don't care where you were, LA, New York, you name it, you want to compete, right? You want to go and get the best. It always makes me think about like how guys today don't compete that make all this money. But anyway, we just competed, man. And you wanted to be on the court like 6 or 7 games, right? And step back and say, we ran this thing, right? If you lost, it was almost personal. Whether you were on a team of 5, it was personal. Like, damn, man, we got to sit and watch these dudes, right? Yeah. And then you had some of these coaches in the Chicago area, particularly in the summer league. I went to my sophomore year. I went to a Catholic school, but prior to that, I'm in public school, and you had these public school coaches, man. They didn't take no crap. Most of them was from these HBCU schools. They get right in your mug. You be like, damn, it's just a game. No, it's a game to win. It ain't just a game, right? And so you got that kind of toughness, and not to fall back on anybody, but to come and bring it to everybody.
Yeah.
Lloyd,
Well, quickly, William Agee's coach comes to mind at Marshall High School. That dude in Hoop Dreams. That kind of brother, that kind of dude.
Luther Bedford. Bedford.
Yeah. But go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just curious, Lloyd. Kind of growing up in Chicago, who were some of the players that you emulated, the games that you liked of guys that, were either in the league, college? Who are some of the people that influenced your game in particular, your style of play?
The number one guy was Tiny Archibald. Yeah, I mean, when I thought about it, when you think about it, here's a guy who led the league in assist scoring 2 years in a row at 6 feet, right? Dominant. Okay.
Yeah.
I got a chance to hang out with him a couple of times when he was with Kansas City and they'd come to Milwaukee to play against the Bucks. And I used to ask him, like, how do you challenge, Kareem like that? And his thing was like, he only 7 feet tall, man, but he ain't quick. Right?
He only 7 feet, dog.
He only 7 feet tall, right? And he had this thing about attacking everybody. And as I watched and studied him, I would say, man, okay, he gets that first step, he's going to burn you no matter what, or he's going to get fouled. Simple as that. I was fortunate enough to, you might have heard the name in Chicago, Billy Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Playground legend, okay? Probably talked more crap than anybody that I know of in Chicago when he was playing. That was in the playground. But I'll tell you this quick story. We're playing in the summer league. The place is packed. I forgot what's the name of the place you guys play in the summer?
The Drew League?
Yeah, the Drew League. It's like that, right? Place is packed. There's so many people. They're all on the side. And you can't even see the out of bounds lines, right? Place is packed. You remember Bill Robozine?
Of course. Oh, yeah,
okay,
of
so
course.
me and Bill on the same team. With I'm on the team with Bo Ellis and a couple other college guys. Billy Harris comes down the lane, man. He's coming full speed, coming down court, stops, puts the ball around his back, and when he puts it around his back, Robozine tries to stop, tears his shoe in half, okay? And the place goes bananas, okay? That's my favorite member of that and Billy Harris. But we had some really good players. Kevin Porter was here in Chicago as a point guard, Wow. So we had some really good point guards in the city prior to me. And I just looked at the opportunity to play basketball. I never thought about playing in the NBA. I just thought about maybe I can get to college with this.
Why not NBA? I mean, it just wasn't on the radar for you at that point? It just didn't seem in reach, or what?
I think all of that, man. Garvey, I went to real quickly. So I'm in a public school in the suburbs of Chicago, living with my aunt and uncle. They didn't have any kids, right? So I was with a group of guys, about 9 or 10 of us. We did everything together: baseball, football, basketball, everything, right?
Okay.
And after my freshman year, midway in my freshman year, my mother and aunt and everybody sends me to a boarding school in North Carolina, Sedalia, North Carolina, right? Remember there's a couple guys down there. Denzel Washington's sister was there. I'm trying to think of my man. Good Times, not good. The Jeffersons, Lionel, he was there. Okay. So they sent me down there. They said, man, it's getting too crazy in the neighborhood. We want you to just go away where you can study, get your education, stuff like that. Anyway, I come back for the summer, and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. I don't know what it's like to be in jail, but I thought I was in jail, man. It's the black boy in school, upper middle class, right? So I come back. I beg my mother, please don't send me back. Can I come back to this school, Bloom High School? She's like, no, plus you missed some classes. You got to go back, get your grades. I said, look, if I get 2 A's, would you let me come back and re-enroll in Bloom? Now, she know I don't like school, period, man, period. So she said, yeah, of course I'll let you re-enroll in Bloom if you get 2 A's. I will and ace that. I got 2 A's, man. So she let me come back. So getting to the point, we didn't see basketball like that, right?
Okay.
I went to things changed when I went to this party. When I got back and re-enrolled in Bloom, I'm at a party in the hood. You both probably can relate to this. Blue light on, red light on. We down with the girls, and have a guy come down and says, "Hey man, this white guy outside looking for you." I'm like, "What I do this time?" I don't think I really did anything. Yeah, right, exactly. Ain't but 2 white guys in the neighborhood. It's the police and the mailman, and it's too late for the mailman, right? So I come up out the basement. I see this guy standing over there, and I'm like, he says, "Hey man, you know me?" I said, "I seen you around." He said, "I'm the assistant coach at Mount Carmel High School. I've been to your aunt and uncle's house. We called your mom, grandma in Chicago. We want to give you a scholarship." Now, mind you, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about, a scholarship. I don't know. I'm just like, yeah. He said, "Come get in the car, man." I was like, "I don't know you like that, brother. I'll meet you at my crib." Anyway, once I got to the crib, he had talked to everybody. My mom, I called my mom, my grandmother, and they just said, "This is the best thing for you." But when I did that, that guy picked me up every day, 30 miles away. Okay, picked me up every morning, took me to Mount Carmel and brought me home. But that changed my life in terms of being able to be exposed to other walks of life and other people. And then I began to hear about other people that played basketball getting scholarships once I got to Mount Carmel. And that's when it changed about possibly having a better life, if you will, being able to further my basketball career, if you will. Because for me, in my first year at Mount Carmel, I was like, shoot, I think I'm going to go to the Army when I finish this.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the choices? But people started saying you could really go to college. So that's when it changed. But I didn't have any desire and designs to be going to no NBA at that young age. I was just too young to see that.
You talked about your mom, Jean, and one of the coolest moms, hippest moms I've ever been around. But can you tell us quickly about the food item that's named after her and how that came about?
Oh wow, yeah, and I will start by saying, I just got off the phone with her, and she told me to give you her regards, man. Yeah,
same here.
I'll tell her. So we're in New York. Every year we played a game in New York because Al McGuire was from New York, right? So we had to go play Madison Square Garden, and so Butch Lee, who was from New York, okay, he had all the easy money boys would always take care of him, and so after the game they would come to the hotel, right? So it's about 8 or 9 of us in the hotel room. We just chilling with my mom. And so this one guy says, and mind you, I have to say this. He just got out the pen probably 8 months ago, right?
Yeah.
But he says, I'm getting ready to open up a restaurant. He was like, oh, yeah, what kind of restaurant? He said, we're going to open up this restaurant in L.A. His name was Roscoe. He said it's going to be named Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And we like, what? Yeah, it's a true story. And my mom says, well, look, you got to put my recipe on there. My omelet on there. As you know, in every hotel, there's a drawer, right? He pulls out the drawer, get the pen, and writes out the ingredients for our omelet, the Gene Jones omelet. And to this day, the last time I was in LA, it was still on the menu.
Gene's omelet. That's
100%, bro. I've had that. Hey, I've had that dozens of times, right?
Gene's omelet.
I had no clue. I had no clue. That's wild.
Yeah,
wow,
man.
That's pretty cool.
Special lady, man. Go ahead.
I actually had a question back to the basketball side of things. When you I'm fascinated. So you were at Bloom. You were allowed to play sort of your playground style of game, and then when you went to Mount Carmel, it was more of a fundamental style. Or can you break that down to how you were able to get the best of sort of the both worlds as in regards to your game?
Excellent question, man. And at Bloom, a public school, and the playground, I was able to play free and loose, right?
Yeah.
And I really developed, I think, because I was able to play free and loose, right? But when I got to Mount Carmel, my coach was, and this is another story, was the son of the late Ray Meyer, who coached DePaul for many years.
Wow. Okay. So Joey Meyer, that was a brother of his. Okay.
No, his brother of his, right?
Joey's brother. Okay.
Tim.
Yep. Tom Meyer.
Tom, excuse me.
He was demanding of you being fundamentally sound and working on your fundamentals every day. And so that kind of changed how I looked at the game. However, I still was able to play loose and free. In high school, I averaged 25, 24 points a game. It was nice, smooth. I could get my own, all that kind of stuff, right? But it changed where I could look at the game two different ways, right? We could be very, very almost robotic, which I did get later. We could run plays. Well, we didn't do that at Bloom High School. It was like, get the ball and go. Whoever got the ball got a shot if you want it, right? It was that kind of thing. They always talk about the coach of Bloom High School, Wes Mason. They talk so much about him. He was a great coach. I say he never won a damn thing. He never did because he would just roll the ball out there and say, go play. But I needed both sides of that, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
So now at Mount Carmel, the racial makeup, I mean, I would imagine 30 miles away, it's probably a majority white, or what was and how was that adjustment coming from the inner city going out to maybe a different environment for you?
Well, mind you, now I was in the suburbs, so Mount Carmel was in the city. So I'll tell you this story. So remember, I came home. Before I got home, the coach had gotten there, and I looked, and my aunt and uncle's lights were on. They were older people, so I know they had been up. He didn't lie. So I walk in. My aunt says, "Call your mother." So I call my mother. But my grandmother answered, and she said, "Oh, this is the best thing for you, son. You're gonna have a great life. Here's your mom." I'm like, "Damn, okay." I get on with mom. Mom, hey, I made some calls. This is a great opportunity. You're going to really be better academically. You're going to still be able to play ball. And I'm like, what did I do, Mom? She said, you didn't do nothing. Out of my peripheral ear and vision, I see my uncle coming out of the bedroom with a bunch of neckties, right? So I get off the phone with Mom, and I walk into the living room where my uncle is and the coaches. I'm like, what's going on? He said, well, it's a Catholic school. I'm like, Catholic? I'm a Baptist, right? Then he says, well, and you're gonna have to wear a tie. I'm like, I want to wear a polo. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Then he says, and it's all boys. I'm like, no, I ain't going. I love women. So I got the 3 stripes, right? For Catholics, right? Gotta wear a tie, right? All boys. I could not believe that my mother would do this to me. But as I alluded to, this dude picked me up every day, man, and it changed my life, man. A lot of my friends I grew up with said that, it changed my life, but in some ways, very possible, it could have saved my life. It was real urban, okay? Next to the poorest town in America at that point in time. A lot of fights, a lot of, things going on, black on black crime, that kind of thing. So I was fortunate enough to get out of there, but I didn't like it. That was the bottom line.
Did Coach Al McGuire recruit you? Did he come down to campus at Mount Carmel and visit you down there? Or is there a story behind that? Because I've always been fascinated with Coach McGuire and his style as a coach.
Hey man, he didn't go see anybody. Okay, yeah, I mean he did. That's the truth. He didn't go see anybody. So how I met Coach McGuire, I don't know if you remember this guy who coached in the league for a couple of years, but he coached in high school. Dick Versace.
Sure. Yes.
Dick Versace. You know,
Bradley University.
Yep. So Dick Versace was the director of Al McGuire's basketball camp. Okay, and Dick Versace and my high school coach after Tom Meyer left was Tony Barone. I don't know if you remember Tony Barone.
Tony recruited me at Texas A&M.
Okay, okay.
Small world.
So it is, right? Damn. So Tony and Dick Versace were like this, okay? And so we went to the camp, right? And I heard about this guy, Al McGuire, but, I don't know. I know Marquette. And the first day he came, he put on a film of Marquette playing. And he was talking so much stuff to the players. But the crazy thing was the players was talking so much stuff to him. I'm like, damn, I like this, man. This back and forth, give and take. I like that. And one thing that happened when I really liked, I was like, he was talking stuff to Bob Lackey, and he said, Bob Lackey, which is the Black Swan, you going to give me into that money when you get to the league next year? And Bob Lackey said, I ain't going to give you a dime, man. You better get it now. Right? And I'm like, oh my God, I want to be a part of this. Now, mind you, if you saw any of the docs, I was not a good student. I hated school. Okay, my first semester in my senior year, I got 5 Fs. Okay, and that was lack of I didn't care. I hated school. So I wasn't going to qualify out of high school. And so they had showed interest. I had about 70, 80 interests, from colleges.
Yeah.
But the academic part just wasn't there. So I went to a junior college. I went to Mobley Junior College in Missouri. Another time, I just hated where I was. Yeah. I couldn't believe I'd be in the country, right? I could not believe that we had 2 or 3 other guys from all over the country. We had a good team, but I just didn't fit in, and I wanted out. I wrote a letter. Well, no texting back then. I wrote a letter to Tony Barone and said, hey, does Marquette still want me? He said, yeah, but you got to be there 2 years. I said, no, I don't. Yeah. I'm leaving this year. So either they do or they don't, right? After my freshman year. And they wanted me. They said, hey, yeah, we want you. And I didn't find out actually all the things they had to go through to get me admitted to Marquette to like 25 years later. There was a program they had called Equal Opportunity for Minorities.
EOP.
So, EOP. Right.
EOP. Yep.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. So I entered Marquette through the EOP program, sat out a year, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning of a great run, honestly.
What was so special about Al? I mean, I've heard stories of him and Bernard Toon getting into it. I mean, like can you give us a couple of? I mean, what was Luke's relation? Maurice Lucas, who I love and adore to this day, rest in peace. Maurice Lucas, one of my good friends in the NBA. But what was it like, man? Just being in that environment and the style. You would think, with all the inner city ball players that Al recruited successfully out of New York, Dean Miminger and all these, that you guys would play this crazy frenetic up and down style. But you used to talk about the tom-toms and how you were the Warriors back then. Boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
And that was a rhythm that you played with. Boom, 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 boom,
yes.
boom, boom, boom.
That's real.
To talk about
very
that
methodical, very methodical cadence, right? And that's the way we played. But I'll tell you that Coach McGuire, I'm going to tell you this quick piece and tell you what happened. So we're in the tournament, NCAA tournament, and Indiana's in the tournament, right? And Bobby Knight is a stickler for doing it the right way, no matter what, and all this, right? So we had dashikis on, earrings, right? and we see them. We in the mall. We see them coming down there. They got on sport coats and ties. And we looked over at them and we say, we don't want to be y'all. And Quinn looked over and said, we don't want to be y'all. But the thing about that sold me, and I'm sure sold the rest of us to play for Coach McGuire and come to Marquette, was that he sold us on that when you win, everybody gets an opportunity. And for those guys that want to go to the next level, to the pro level, you're going to get there if you play together and we win. And that's what sold me on it, man. Our 3 years, we were 78 and 11. Wow. One hell of a record, right? Yeah. I mean, there probably maybe 3 or 4 schools that had a better record, but you can't really say that it was a bad decision other than we walked the ball up the floor. Very methodical. Only time we could run is if we got a steal, okay? Yeah. Other than that, we walking it up, we running our plays, and that's where it's going to be. Now, with Coach McGuire, as I alluded to earlier, he was okay with that back and forth communication. We be in the huddle, man, for the first minute. We going off. I mean, he's going off, we going off. But everybody knew that about the last 10, 15 seconds, you could hear a pin drop. Because then we all tuned into whatever, direction or guidance he needed to give us. And then we would have practice, man, where he would, every day before practice, and half the time he wouldn't even come to practice, honestly. Well, he'd show up late. He let Hank Raymond run the practice, okay?
He would show up sometimes, Lloyd.
Right.
Legend.
Look, there's so many different things. When we would get off the bus, when we go travel to play a team, he never wanted to stay in the same hotel because he said, I don't want to catch y'all doing something you shouldn't be doing and have to get rid of it.
That's real.
That's right. So we would have these conversations before practice that had nothing to do with basketball. It had everything to do with about life. I mean, I can remember this. I remember this girl that I met at the junior college. She had some issues, but she showed up on Marquette's campus, right? And told the people at the hotel she was my wife. And I get a call from Coach McGuire, come to my office. I go, he's like, you got a wife? I was like, I don't have a wife. He said, what? he says, well, this woman over here. I said, I know, Coach, but it's just a girlfriend. He said, Lloyd, let me tell you one thing. You got too many damn girlfriends.
Pippa died, bro.
Whoa. What's that all about, bro?
That's kind of a Chicago thing. Pippa died, man. Pippa
died, man. Okay. But that was the beauty of it, man. He talked to you about life, man. We had players on the team, as you could imagine, that came with the idea and hopes that they would go to the next level. And he would be so honest with the guy, man. He would just say, man, you just ain't good enough, man. Wow. You were really good in high school. That's why I came and got you. But you haven't developed, good enough to go to the league. And I remember him having a conversation with me. I had a lot of doubt. There was a lot of noise about my size, right? Okay. And I remember him putting me to the side and said, look, you're going to have to work your ass off, but you can make it. He said, and I'll tell you the reason why I think you can make it, but I'll tell you the reason other people think you can make it, because you play hard, you don't back down. And he said, the first person that's told me that, and it just shocked me, he said, Wayne Emery told me that you could play in this league. Wow. I was like, yeah, that changed everything, because, here's a guy who's the general manager, first black general manager in the league, but also someone who's been in the league as a player for about 10 years, right? That was the first nod that, hey, it could happen, right? And so from that going forward, man, I did what I could do. And I had 2 things that I made mistakes. And one in particular, I got an invite to the Olympic team for trials. But prior to that, the World Games, I got an invite. Dean Smith was the coach. Right. And as I already talked about, we walked the ball up the court at Marquette. When I got to the World Games trials, Dean Smith was the coach, and I could hear him to this day. Push it, Lloyd, push the ball. But I was so caught up with that Marquette style, I'm walking the ball up the floor. Because I know, honestly, seriously, if I'm just playing ball with the freedom that coaches give you, I'm on this team. I can make this team. There's no question about it. I'll tell you about one player who made it. I was like, when I played him in the league, I tried to kill him. Tate Armstrong, okay? Because he made the Olympics. It wasn't his fault, but, it's just the way it was. Yeah. But when the Olympic invite, and I look back, you look back and say, what's wrong with you? I got a letter to come to the trials. And I remember walking down Wisconsin Avenue and tearing it up and throwing it in the garbage. I was so
Because
Was that
76,
I
right?
just
1976.
yeah,
Because
76. Because I
because
just felt like
yeah.
it wasn't going to be fair. I wasn't going to make it. I couldn't process everything, right? And I didn't go to, and I should have went to Al or I should have went to Hank Ramis. I didn't. I was just so disappointed and frustrated. And I'll tell you, when they selected their team, they were traveling around the country to play, and they came to Chicago to play. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I must have had 30 on their ass
Yeah.
when they
Wow.
came to
Yeah.
Chicago, right? So you make decisions that you regret that don't go your way or whatever it is, and that's one thing I could say that I regret, that I didn't at least go to the trials and play. And that's the same year that Butch Lee scored 30 something on
Right.
him in the Olympics,
Puerto
right?
Rico. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Do you think that decision had anything to do with your draft status? I know that you had talked about Jerry. You talked about Jerry Krause, right? Having the pick, the second round, he chose Willie Smith, etc. But then the
Oh
Bucks take you
God.
did the Bucks take you in the third round? I'm curious about that. Do you think that had anything to do with that, or you think it was just something else? Because I'm confused about that whole
not
scenario.
going to the Olympics is what you're asking.
Well,
Not
not going to the
participating in
Olympics, and the fact that Lloyd was with Arthur Morris, right? And Jerry Krause
Yep,
was a runner, agent.
yep,
Arthur Morris, the agent. Jerry Krause was the actual runner for Arthur Morris. Then got named
yep.
the GM and had the chance to draft Lloyd. So I'm
Yeah.
confused on why that didn't happen. Why that didn't go down.
Well, two things, Chris. I think it affected me getting drafted higher. Number one, because if you're at the Olympic trial, you're playing against the best of the best, at least considered the best of the best, right?
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect place for me to show my wares, show my talent, right? And I believe I could have stood up to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, right? So I didn't go. So the pro scouts, the word didn't get out of this. They still seeing this guy who walks the ball up the floor and that kind of thing. Now, having said that, Jerry Krause called me every week practically my senior year, just telling me, man, you're going to make it, man. I want you to come with Arthur. Look, man, you're going to be a late first round pick. I'm believing this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he wasn't the Jerry Krause that he became, but I'm believing this guy. And so I went and signed with Arthur Morris. And I remember the draft day like it was yesterday. I'm filled with this anxiety. It was not this show that you see today on TV and none of that kind of stuff. Right. So I go play some tennis with a friend of mine, and on my way back, I listen to the radio, and Chicago Bulls select Scott May. I'm like, that's a great pick,
Yeah.
national champ, Olympian. That's a great pick, right?
Facts.
And then just before I get home, I hear the Bulls' second pick, and it's not me. I'm crushed. Man. I'm crushed. I'm even more crushed. And I was telling the people who did the filming, I like, Willie Smith gonna kill me about this. But I say, they selected Willie Smith out of Missouri. And I remember saying, how the hell this dude get picking for me?
He a lefty shooter though. He gave us 20. He gave us about 27, Lloyd, when he came out to Poly Pavilion. So
Yeah.
he wasn't complete garbage. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, but wait a minute now. So his first press conference, garbage. Look, Chris, he sits up there and he says, I should have went in the first round, and John Havlicek couldn't guard my socks. I said, this arrogant dude, are you serious?
Wow.
So, as would have it, he didn't even make it out of training camp before he got cut.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, I walk in the house. Mom says Wayne Emery called. I call Wayne. But first of all, when she said Wayne Emery called, I've been in Milwaukee at Marquette. I know all the guards they have. They got 6 guards, and you want me to call him? I'm like, I'm in tears, man. Like, this cannot be happening, right? And so I call Wayne, and Wayne is like, Wayne is different. He's like, hey, congratulations, you're a Milwaukee Buck. I'm like, yeah, okay. Thank you. Do you have an agent? I'm like, yeah, Arthur Morris. He said, I know Arthur. Yeah, we'll get together. We'll work a deal out for you. But that was probably the most disappointing thing that I had faced in terms of basketball up to that point, man, that I didn't go higher. I just believed that I should have and could have. But, things work out for a reason. So
Yeah. And now it sounds to me, and I know in terms of addictive personalities, because I have one, obsession, compulsion, never feel like I'm enough, not comfortable in my own skin, even though I'm, whatever, city player of the year in high school and college player of the year. It's still this fear of just not being able to, repeat that success at the next level. So I'm walking around with that mindset, and it's just torture. But everybody's telling me. Wayne Embry came out and saw me play between my freshman and sophomore years, 18 years old, going against a lot of pros, Sidney Wicks, Curtis Rowe, Mike Soldier, all these pros out at UCLA. He made the statement that I was the best forward he'd seen, college or pro. But that still wasn't enough.
Wow.
That still wasn't
Wow.
enough. That still wasn't enough. And my mother always, she just had such a special place in her heart for Wayne Embry. She loves Wayne Embry. But the point is, Lloyd, for you, I mean, in terms of how you're wired. Was that, how much of a struggle was that for you? Just the fear of making it. I think you got the nickname Lucky because you had made that statement that you felt more lucky than deserving than being in the NBA.
Well, it was extremely difficult being the 40th pick, knowing that the Bucks already had 6 guards. They take an Olympian, an NCAA champion, Quinn Buckner, with the first pick.
Right.
And, being a high school All-American and a college All-American, having an opportunity to play against some of the best, right?
Yeah. Well,
so,
you and Quinn were first team Street and Smith.
Yeah. So
first team, Parade All-American. Right. Parade All-American, yeah.
When, so think about, as Chris, you asked me that question, so you think about the journey for Quinn, and I'm not knocking Quinn at all, but Quinn we were different, okay? We were different. And the journey I took because maybe I wasn't seen and we played a different style of basketball, right? So now he's the first round pick, I'm a third round pick, and I'm feeling like, how do I deal with this? How do I go with this every day? Because, when you draft somebody, it's an investment, right? And you won't return on your investment. The only way you're going to do that is to play that person, right? So every time I'm on the floor, I'm thinking like, are you going to give me some more minutes? What do I have to do? And that would never happen. And the fact of the matter is that the first year, Garvey, what happened, this was crazy. Junior and I collide in preseason, and I hit my calf, so I'm out. And I go to the hotel, and I don't come out the hotel room for 5 days. I get a call from Costello. He's like, where are you? I said, I'm at the hotel. I got hurt. He's like, well, you need to be at practice. I did not know that I needed to even be at practice, okay?
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow. Yeah.
And seriously, and this gets really, really good to somebody you both know, Tony Spino.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
When we came up there, Garvey, for your retirement, that Bucks gave, okay?
Yeah.
Tony Spino, for 2 days we were there, Tony Spino and I would take walks. And so on our walk, he told me, he said, Lord, do you know that Costello tried to cut you? So what do you mean? He said, every day when you were hurt, he'd come in and say, how's Walton doing? And I'd say, hey, he's about a day or two away. He said, well, get him healthy, man. We need to get rid of his ass.
Oh, wow. Old school Larry Costello. Okay.
Hey, a real one.
Tony Spino, the trainer. Yep.
That Larry Costello playbook was this thick.
Was it?
Okay, seriously.
Ooh.
And he was the kind of guy, you'd be in practice, walked or whatever, and he'd just call out plays. Oh, okay. One day he'd call out, hey, Walton, what do you do when we go 33B on the left side? I'm frozen. And then I got Dandridge, I got Jim Price, I got Gary Brokaw, jokesters, and they veterans. They clowning me from the back. I mean, look, man. But let me tell you, man. So when we get back to the hotel, I go to Costello's room. Knock on the door. He comes to the door. What do you want? I said, Coach, I know all those plays. You can ask me anything. I don't care what play it is. I don't know what position it is. I know all of them. I just, you caught me off guard. He said, man, I know you know all of them. I seen you play at Marquette, man. But the thing about it, I want to make sure you can do it when the lights come on. I said, I got you, right? And lo and behold, we started the season. He was gone after 15 games, right? And then we got Nelly in there, which was totally different. Totally different.
Why? What made it so different?
Yeah, what was your thing with Nelly?
Well, let me tell you, the day that they fired Costello, we're at the what was the university high school gym with the windows broke out. Yeah. Windows half broke out. so
like an old barn, Chris, an old dilapidated barn with a great floor, a great soft floor. But the building was garbage. But go ahead.
Okay.
So we get the word. We hear that that Costello's been fired and Nelly's been hired. So the door opens like some Western. The door opens up, and here comes Nelly with his blonde hair. Come in, and he says, fellas, the shit has hit the fan. It's a new sheriff in town.
That's what he said.
Verbatim?
That's exactly what he said. And I'm like,
wow.
damn. And he called us and he said, look, we're in a rebuilding mode. One thing that we're not good at right now, we're not good at conditioning. Okay. So what I'm going to focus on is everybody getting in the best shape they could possibly get in. And here's what's going to happen. There's going to be some teams that come in here who are going to count you guys out because you're not that good, and we're going to run their ass in the ground. Okay. Is everybody with me? Now, the thing about it, for those 5 years that I was there, one thing about it, we always had pretty smart players that came from winning colleges, right?
Yep.
So it wasn't hard for us to catch on. And who doesn't want to run, right?
Right.
So running, I remember San Antonio came in there with Iceman, Larry Keenan. We must have ran their asses out there by 30, man. Hey, look, slow down, man.
Ice, that's Ice. That was Ice.
Yo, man. So, hey, man.
That's my guy, man. That's my guy, man.
Oh,
so,
man.
And then Nelly was, that Boston culture.
Yeah.
Was about winning. So I mean, I felt good in it.
Sure.
I mean, everybody wants to play, right? And sometimes I think, and I include myself and other people, sometimes you may be a little bit delusional about your talent or where you fit in. But I was okay with it. Only thing I wanted was, for example, like when you start the year, okay, give me a fair chance. That's all I want. Just give me a fair chance. That's all I want. Once we settle in with our rotation or whatever it's going to be, I'll accept my role. I always was taught, man, you can't be a good leader unless you can be a good follower. I live by that, man. Whatever my role is, I don't mind doing my role as long as I'm going to get the benefits that I should get. And so that's kind of what happened. I enjoyed my time playing for Nelly, but everybody knows that Nelly can love you. And when he turns, he turns.
Yeah.
He turns.
Yeah.
And
not turning back.
In my situation with Nelly, it was all about me. I caused him to turn. He didn't just turn. I gave him reason to turn with my behavior, starting to use drugs, not coming to practice healthy, prepared, rested, and all that kind of stuff. So he turned for the right reason, man. And I remember.
You feel like he knew about the off court stuff? Because I know I had friends that used to tell me that they'd pass by my house at like 2 a.m. They said, like, Nelly was parked across the street from your house, man, at 2 a.m. That's a true story. Just gotta watch it and look it, and yeah. You better be careful, man. I saw Nelly like parked.
Hey,
posted
Nelly's
up.
a real one. Nelly's a real one for that, bro.
Smoking a cigarette, Lloyd.
Nelly sounded like he was on some cop stuff. He sounded like he was on some like Clint Eastwood shit or something.
Information is valuable. Information is valuable.
Absolutely. So if you see a player who comes in that's very energetic, always on top of things, and then within a year, 2 years, they're not that same energetic person, you got to know something's wrong, and it's up to you to kind of find out, right?
Right.
And I remember being when it was over. I remember we always stayed in the Hyatt until I knew I made the team, and so I'm restless. I'm not using that day. So I go downstairs and I'm standing out in front of the Hyatt. It might be 12:30, 1 o'clock. And who drives by but Nelly? Now, he wasn't looking for me, but he saw me, right? And I want to say within the next 4 days, I got that call like, hey, man, come on over. We want to talk to you. And I was like, okay, I know they're going to let me go.
Wow.
The first time, whenever it happens, I know for me, the first time in my life that I didn't have basketball for since I was 8, 9 years old. First time I didn't have basketball. I didn't have a teammate. I didn't have a team. I didn't have a coach. And I know I sat on the couch for 2 weeks, not knowing what to do, where to go, honestly. I mean, just totally lost. And it was all because of my drug use and just totally gotten out of hand. Yeah. And I know I discussed this with you, and there's a little part that Torrance is going to put into the documentary where, Kris, where when I started using cocaine, one of the things that happened was that a friend of mine turned me on. I tried it one summer, and then the next thing you know, I'm back at playing, and it's up and down. And I never could forget, man. There was a game we played, and I just knew I should have played. I didn't play. A friend of mine from Chicago had come up. We went back to my house. He said, "Let me try some." So I tried some, and I felt all good. I was like, "Oh yeah!" Started laughing, talking stuff with him, and that stuff, right? And so it got to a point where if I didn't play, I wanted to feel better about myself. This was the way for me to feel better, right? If I did play, I wanted to feel even better. Right. So I started using. And so, as they say, that Monday turned into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that was my life was consumed with. I was at a hopeless state of mind and body, man. That was the only thing I could think about that meant anything to me. as much as basketball and my family had meant to me, this was my priority now. It was unbelievable transition, man. And to this day, I'm like, how could you even allow something like that to happen? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just wanted you to dive into that moment. You guys talked about it in the doc where you climbed over that wall. You're headed from the south side to the north side. That moment was very poignant. But I want to know what was your mindset? You know, I kind of wanted to dive deeper into that moment, Lloyd. When you decided to get
tell the
clean.
story, put it in context too, so we know
Okay.
exactly where you
Okay,
were at that point in your life.
So I'll start you with the last day I used cocaine. Now it's been 39 years, I think. So I'm at this drug house and I'm using drugs. And a guy comes in. It's a drug house. He comes in and asks me for some of my drugs. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you nothing. And he keeps on. I'm like, man, look, get away from me. I'm not giving you anything. And he looks at me right in the eye and he says, "You just an old dope fiend has been." I'm like, man, get out of here. So I finish all my drugs, go to the bathroom, use the bathroom. And as you know, right above the sink, there's always a mirror, right? And I'm washing my hands, looking in the mirror, and I saw exactly what he described me to be. But I also saw my family. I mean, pictures of all these women that raised me. I saw my kids, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? This is not you. These are not the values your family gave you. You have to do something about this. Um, I got a ride to a friend's house that lived in Hyde Park. I'll just give it Hyde Park.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to sleep and wake up the next morning. And the next morning when I woke up, I walked from Hyde Park to Northwestern Hospital. I want to say that's about 25 miles.
Wow.
And it's one thing that I realized that I have resilience and I have whatever I really want, I'll put my all into it. And so on that walk, right?
Yeah.
I run into this construction site.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, not obviously, but I probably could have walked, I don't know, 15 miles that way or 15 miles that way to go all the way around. And something just came over me that said, you can go right over it now. You don't have to do that, right? And so, I backed up and he captures as good, but not as good as it really happened to me because I backed up and I just started running. I couldn't jump over the wall, but I could get to the wall and put my hands up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point, it was just like a struggle. I'm just struggling. I'm struggling. My clothes are starting now to be warm because I'm up against this brick wall until I finally get over. And when I get over, I probably have another 7-8 miles to walk. And I get to the hospital. And I told her, hey, look, I got a substance problem and I want some help really bad. She said, oh, no problem. Sit down. So she does my intake for me. And then she says, do you have any insurance? I said, yes, I have insurance. She says, okay, let me go check, make sure. So she comes back. She says, I can't find your insurance. So what kind of insurance? I said, well, my wife at that time works for TWA. I said, could you look again? So she went back in the back. She came back. She said, sir, we can't find your insurance. I said, let me use your phone. So I called my wife at that point and I said, hey, Maria, I'm at the hospital. I'm trying to get in the hospital. They can't find my insurance. She said, you don't have no insurance for me. I took you off my insurance 6 months ago.
Wow.
I felt so hopeless because one thing I did not want to do was to go back out in the streets without some direction, some positive direction. I called my friend, and my friend came back and picked me up. When I got to her house, I called my mother, and I said, Mom, I was at the treatment facility, the hospital, and I was trying to get checked in to get some treatment, and Maria took me off her insurance. I don't have any insurance. And it seemed like an hour, but it was just a few seconds. And she said, son, I knew this day was coming. And I put you on my insurance a year ago.
That's God.
Look at God.
So I went to the treatment facility the next morning. And the first thing I did was when they gave me my room was I got down on my knees and I told God and I promised him, if you bring me out of this, this will not be my will. I will do your will. I will do everything I am told to do because I want a better life. And the crazy thing, I have to say this, man, one of the things that I wanted more than anything else was I wanted to have white eyes again.
Yeah.
Mm.
Clear
Right?
eyes.
Because
Yes, indeed.
clear eyes. I saw my cousin who wasn't a drug user, and kept staring at his eyes. I was like, this is what I'm using, right? And I was like,
Mm.
so all I wanted to do was have them clear eyes again, man. And
Yes, sir.
as you know, Garvey, um, there are still challenges,
Sure.
and there were challenges with people, places, and things. And was
Facts.
I challenged? Absolutely. But it always came back to me that all I had to do was do it one day at a time.
Yeah.
So all I just kept, I never would let time go in the past.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
stop for 2-3 hours, right? One day or something like that. All you gotta do is do it today,
Stay
Lord. You
sober
do it
today.
today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
And then you think
Mm.
about it, you get the 30 days, right? They give you a chip or something, right?
Yeah.
And then you 60, right? And every time I got a chip and got acknowledged, I just felt stronger, right? I'm like,
Man.
damn,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And
They
and
keep
then the other
going.
part, which is so crazy that we go through, that I went through, is that you go to a meeting, then you see other new people who just get there, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to share some stuff with them to give them some hope and inspire them to be able to do it, right? So that was the beauty of it, man. And I longed for that. And I met 6 guys, man, who in the rooms who just had been, clean for years, and they allowed me to be a part of their group.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we would go to each other's house every Sunday, have dinner, and we would talk about real issues and mainly talk about how could we stay clean and sober,
Yeah.
Mm.
See, and
because we all need it.
yeah, our story's
Go ahead.
really parallel because I mean, similar situation. That walk. I remember that walk. I went to a meeting in Seattle. I was hell bent on getting sober. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, Lloyd, and I got to this meeting, and I had read the meeting directory wrong. That meeting I went to didn't start for another hour and a half or so. But the guy behind the counter, old man Bill, said, "Well, there's another meeting starting at noon, but it's about a 2-mile walk in the central district of Seattle." I said, "Okay, well, I'll walk." I was walking, didn't have a car for some reason or whatever. And as I was walking, man, it started raining, drizzling, and I just started crying, like I felt some hope. I felt something that I'd never felt before, but I just got all teary-eyed, crying, walking into this meeting at the 1504 Club in Seattle, Washington. And when I got in there, in terms of just God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, Lloyd, I mean, there were guys in there that had been living on the street, living in cardboard boxes, been pimps and players and hustlers and all, just a variety of different guys, but they've been sober 15, 10, 15 years. They turned legitimate. They had businesses. And I could relate to the guys that have been sober 15 years. I could barely relate to the guys who had 18 months. It's like, how can you not do alcohol and drugs for 18 straight months? Y'all, I mean, if you get five days, then maybe you can go off and get drunk. I loaded the other 2 because you got the 5 days and count that as a week. You get some
Right.
grace or something. There's no way you couldn't do nothing. You're not doing
Right.
nothing for like 18 months. And here I am. And then the men's group, I latched on to a group of men in Los Angeles that meet every Tuesday night. One guy's wife had died about 30 years ago, and they started to get together to support him, and they just kept meeting. And so I plugged into that, Lloyd, and I've been meeting with these guys for the 21 of the 22 years I've been sober, and what a source of support and just sounding board and just experience, strength, and hope. They've gone through, some of the stuff that I started to go through early in sobriety, and they just kind of helped shepherd me through it, man. And people to understand just how important that is in terms of your walk. And the final point is that someone shared one time about how he wasn't, somebody in recovery for a long time, how he wasn't running to the light, but he was running from the flame. It's not like I'm not running like I'm Holy Spirit. I'm running, and then the religion is for those people who don't want to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who have been to hell,
Already
been, and don't want to go back. And so that's that recovery thing, man. And man, that's such a powerful testament. And that wall that you talked about symbolizes so much. You talked about the resilience and the determination, and God allowed an obstacle to be put in your place, and you weren't going to be deterred. You were going to get what you needed to get, come hell or high water, man. And what a powerful testimony, man. Seriously.
Man, I've been so fortunate, man. I think that I didn't talk about it enough, but God's grace and mercy, man, has and always will be sufficient.
Yeah.
And that's what I lean on, man. I mean, seriously, man. I wouldn't want to change a thing really. I've learned so much about me, about other people, my kids, man. As you guys saw them on the thing, my kids, man, who love me like I was always there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the disappointment that I have is that I don't know about your situation, but all of my coaches, the people that were instrumental in my life, passed away from my high school to college, right? Even in grammar school, man, some guys who had some unbelievable effect on my life and how I did things. I would love for them to be able to know what I was able to accomplish. That's the thing that, thank God mom is still here.
Sure.
And it's so crazy because she's on the doctorate. You see, she said, Lloyd never liked school. And when I got my doctorate, of course, she was standing when I walked off the stage. She said, and you never liked school. I said, Mom, I don't like it now.
Before we get to that, so you talked about those mentors. You've been doing some serious mentoring through the Players Association. Man, talk about how that came about, what you do. I watched Giannis and you interact. I think last year we were at the practice facility and he saw you, he lit up. It's like, I mean, you have a major impact on these players, and just talk about how that came about and why you have such a positive impact on these young men.
Well, it started with Rory Sparrow giving me a call. I was the executive director of the Jordan Family Life Center. Rory Sparrow called me one day and said, hey, man, you want to come down to the pre-draft here in Chicago? We need another coach if you don't mind doing it. Man, I'd love to do it, right? And so I went down, and it was unbelievable. I told my mom, she said, what'd you see? I saw a lot of fat white guys with Rolex watches on.
Little agents, what are they?
The coaches, the general managers.
Okay.
All of them, right?
The big ballers, all right.
Yeah. So I said, but I got there and I got a chance to go back into, I would just call it, for lack of a better word, to the family of all the NBA people, right? People I've known for 15, 20 years, saw me at my highest, saw me at my lowest, but everybody was welcoming, right? Yeah. And so that was the first time. And then the next year, I did it, but I also got a call, and I have to say it honestly, from one of our former teammates, and you and I talked about it offline, Harvey Catchings. He called me and he said, hey, man, the NBA and the Players Association are looking for a counselor. Would you be interested? I was like, absolutely. And so I interviewed with Purvis Short and myself. And after that, he said, man, the job is yours. I'm like, okay, cool. Right? Just like that, man. But at that time, the focus of the Players Association was to help guys go back to school, because that was what was happening. We're talking about it 1999 to 20. So guys were going back to school trying to finish their degrees, that kind of stuff. And so I loved it, man. I was back into basketball, around teams, around players. And somewhere after about the first 5 years, then we began to realize that most guys would tell me, hey Lloyd, I didn't like school, man. I ain't going back to school. And then other guys would say, man, I promised my grandmother, my mother, I was going to get my degree. Can you help me do it? And so I was always on a search for what school would allow you back in, what grades, credits would transfer. So it was a whole process to help guys. And I'm happy to say, man, a lot of guys who took it serious in terms of the relationship that they would have with their parents, but also the future relationship that they were going to have with their kids. And what I mean by that is, when you tell your kids to do something, think about it. If you played 8-9 years in the league and you say you need to go to school to your child, they're going to say, well, did you go?
Yeah,
and
right.
Guys took that to, right? And so a lot of guys said, man, I want to be able to tell my kids I went to school, because they're not going to be able to play in the NBA or NFL or something like that. And so that was real important for a lot of these guys. And then all of a sudden, man, we turned to guys who were making so much money. They started becoming entrepreneurs. We started listening to players. What do you want to do? A lot of players said, we want to go into real estate. I want to coach. Then we had a coaching program. What else do we have? Coaching, real estate, technology.
Executives, front office type program.
Front office, yeah. We have
broadcasting.
all those, broadcasting. A lot of the guys on TV now. I was looking at some notes just the other day, man, from 10, 12 years ago, that I had conversations with players that I documented, and this is what they wanted to do. I know I was reaching about Richard Jefferson, who wanted to open up some yoga places. Now I think he owns about 8 or 9 of them in the New York area.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think about Josh Childress, right? Josh Childress came to our real estate program in Vegas, and the first time, and he said, man, I want to come back and I want to be one of the presenters. Okay, cool. He comes back 3 years later. He brings out his stuff, man. We said, well, we want you to present. And now he has a portfolio damn near $1 billion worth of properties and what have you.
Josh,
He
good for
led,
Josh. Okay.
Yeah, he led our real estate program the last 4 years.
Yeah,
okay?
Josh doing his thing. Josh
Yeah,
for sure.
right. And a lot of the guys, when we initially started, like, say, the broadcasting program, we did it at Syracuse for about 8 years. And the last 4 years, it was at USC. And at that time, because players would say they were coming and we would put all this expense out and players wouldn't show up, right? So we started making guys pay and they get their money back as soon as they arrive. Usually we would only take 5 guys because we wanted, them to be able to get individual help. And I remember going to Shaq and he said, man, I want to do it. And so we said, like, okay, what's it? So he said, what's it like? So we explained it. He said, well, I don't want nobody to be there. I said, well, Shaq, we paying all these people. This was, he said, I'm paying for 5 people and it's just going to be me. And he paid for 5 people and it was just him, right?
Wow.
So he came and took it. Richard Jefferson, I mean, there's a lot of players took it. Vince Carter came and took it, right? So it was a lot of guys who felt like this is something that I want to do. But the beauty of it was after the 4 days, guys would say, I don't want to do this, man. This is too hard. We have some blooper films that would kill you, man. I can't think of the guy's name. He started just hitting himself on the head. I can't get this. I can't get this.
It looks easy. It looks, when
Thank
you're
you.
good, you make it look easy. Yeah,
for sure.
Right. So that's been beautiful, man. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was wondering on that same vein, just talking about the Players Association providing resources for players post career and things like that. When did you guys decide to shift into focus into mental health awareness and mental health awareness? Like, when did that start to become sort of a focus for you guys?
I want to say, I could be a year or so off. I want to say 5 years ago. So you have these conversations. Let me say this: you establish relationships with players. Not everybody you have the same relationship with, right? But you establish with it. Some clicks with you, right? So you got this energy, this synergy that you like, chemistry, and you have conversations. And guys be like, "What's wrong?" And you want to ask them, "What's wrong?" You're not playing well. You just got a lot on your mind. But what's on your mind? And we start hearing this more and more. And so we felt like we had to bring somebody on staff. Number one, who could be able to help guys navigate this, right? When you talk about the stress that you go through, man, the demands on you and the desires that you have, the family and friends, all of these things into one, and you just really want to play basketball. That's what you really want to do. But there's so many different ways that people are pulling at you. And then the next thing you know, we brought somebody on, and then we had players who said, it's a lot of us like that. So we said, hey, could you talk about it a little bit? Kevin Love, DeMar, and there's others would just come out and start talking about it's okay because there's a stigma, particularly in the African American community, about how you treat yourself, particularly when things get tough. Because we always said, tough it out, man.
Right.
Pick yourself up. You know what to do.
Right.
And that's just not the case when you talk about mental health, man. You talk about the psychology of it all, man. Having that balance in your life, know when to say no, how to be able to integrate yourself in things that you want and things that you don't want, how to get out of that and not stop letting people pull on you. So it's been a welcoming thing to come to the players so that players can live a healthy life, because that's the most important thing, a healthy life for them, because then they can play at their optimum level, as you can imagine. And then they're able to give so much back to the communities that they came from in the basketball world in itself.
So now you travel around, you meet with teams a few times a year. So you've met with the Milwaukee Bucks, and like I mentioned, just the way Giannis responded. Can you talk about Giannis in terms of how you have observed him, his maturation as a person, as a player? Just what's that been like for you?
Okay, let me tell you. So I had a meeting with the Bucks, and this is, I don't know, you go back to Giannis's first year probably. And they finished practice, and so they got their little sandwiches or whatever, their lunch, they in the room, and Giannis comes in, and I forgot who the vet was, but the vet was like, man, I don't have enough Gatorade. Giannis, go get that damn Gatorade, man. And Giannis goes out, comes back, he got Gatorade, like just like, everybody can take one. Take one, you can have one. And to see where he's at today. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening between there. Sally and I were in Greece, okay? and we go to Nike, and there's this big mural of Giannis in Greece. And I call him on the phone, right? I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? He's like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And that's what they always say. I said, man, I'm down here getting ready to buy one of these BS shirts of you. Where are you? You're in Milwaukee? I said, no, I'm in Greece. We're in Greece? Oh, my God. Well, how long you going to be? I said, we're leaving tomorrow. He said, oh, man, you should have called me, man. I have everybody pick you up and take you everywhere. I said, no, I'm good, man. That's the social side. In terms of the playing side, I think about his first year too, and the star of the team was Jabari Parker.
Sure.
Okay, it wasn't Giannis, right?
Yes, sir.
And so just seeing him as a skinny kid, just running up and down the floor, and sometimes, to be honest with you, we probably could see film. I don't even know if he knew what he was doing. He was just running up and down the floor. He was like a deer, right? Just running up and down the floor. And to see little by little how he worked on his game, right? And he refused to be one-dimensional. He wanted to be the best player he could. But I don't even think, Garvey, you probably know better than I do, I don't even think he knew the talent or the ceiling that he would have, right? But, work never ends if you want it, right? And every time I came to Milwaukee and saw practice, he was always working. Yeah. There's a couple guys like that. And so he just got consistently better. And I never will forget the last great thing I really remember about Giannis, seriously, is that when they won the championship, I was up there the next morning. I think the next morning I was up there that night, but I came to the film session. We have a thing where they take pictures with the players. And he was like, hey, man, come here, man. You got to take a picture with the trophy, man. I was like, well, he said, yeah, you part of this. You were a Buck. And I mean, that meant so much to me. I think I got it over in the corner and to my family, man, to be able to take the championship trophy, take a picture with it, and then he comes and puts his arm around me and takes a picture with me. And that meant the world to me, to be honest with you. To feel like I was a part of it, man.
So when we saw him, Kris, at the practice facility last season, Giannis was closing in on the offensive rebounding record that I hold. And I asked him if I would. I was like, can I keep that record until I get into the Hall of Fame? Yes, I'll let you keep it until you get to the Hall of Fame. Well, I guess it took too long because he broke it this year. So, but he tried to hold off as long as possible. But he broke it this year. So and I made the finalist or whatever for the Hall of Fame. So maybe things will work out. But Lloyd, can't let you go.
Wait,
go ahead, go.
This, man. I guess you just the Hall of Fame, man. I saw it 2 weeks ago. Nominations and stuff like that. There's some people it's just well deserving. It's taken far too long, in my opinion, to even happen. I think that sometimes I always ask, is there a criteria that I'd like to see for what it is? And I've never been told that there's a criteria. But there's a criteria. And all you got to do is look at the tape. So all you got to do is look at the tape. That's the criteria.
Yeah.
You look at the other people in there. You look at the tape, okay? The criteria. You should have been in there, okay? And I believe that with all my heart. I support you 100%. You've been such a friend and supportive of mine. And I tell people, man, say, well, how can you say that? I said, because I named my son after him. I named my son after him because he meant so much to me. And
we appreciate that. What an honor. Thank you, Lloyd.
And the way he conducted himself as a pro, how hard he worked. And I told my son, I wanted him to be able to work as hard as I saw you work each and every day in practice, man. Thank you for your friendship and support, man. And we'll be there. We'll be there.
You, brother.
Yes, we
will.
You, yes, we will.
I should end on that, but I can't just yet because I gotta give you your flowers, man. Now, are you still one of three? I think Adrian Griffin may have gotten his PhD or doctorate.
I think it's 4 now, right?
It's 4.
Dick Barnett, Shaq, Dr. Lloyd Walton, Dr. Adrian Griffin.
Okay, so just 4 former NBA players in that illustrious collection.
That's killer.
Just talk about that, man, how that happened. A guy that got 5 Fs. 5 Fs his senior year at Mount Carmel High School. 5 Fs. That's not easy to do.
Lord.
5 Fs. And now you're Dr. Lucky Lloyd, man.
Yes, sir.
You got to tell us about that.
Things happen for a reason, right? So remember I was sharing with you guys that when we initially started, I initially started, players were going back to school, right, to finish their degrees, right? And so, and I can't think of the player's name, unfortunately, but he wanted to go back to school and he needed some credit hours. He wanted to get his degree for his kids. And so it was my job to call around and see what school would accept the credits that he already had. And so in my conversation, I called the school here in Chicago, and I'm talking to the admissions guy, and just in conversation, which was very low key. I said, man, one day I may go back. I've oftentimes thought about going back, maybe get my doctorate. And he says to me, oh man, you got to apply. I said, man, they ain't letting me in this school. He said, yes. He said, I remember you when you played, man. Have you ever given up on anything? I said, no, I never. He said, well, you got to apply. Just apply. And so I applied to get in. And 2 weeks pass. I come home. I get the mail out the box, and there's a letter, and I'm accepted. I am so damn scared, man, because now they say this thing. They have this saying about be careful what you ask for, you just might get it.
Yeah.
So now I'm accepted, right? So that means I got to go to school. I got to do homework, right?
Okay.
I got a family, and I got a job. And I'll say this, man, the first class I went to, my professor no longer here, he took the mystique out of going for your doctorate. He said there was only about 6 of us going for our doctorate. And he said, you can do it if you want to do it. And in the doctoral program here, everybody will reach out and give you a hand if you want a hand. And there's going to be some tough times and some difficult times. But if you want it, you can get it. And he was right about all of that. He told me about a few people that got their degrees and what situation they were in before they got their doctorate. And I committed myself to doing it to the best of my ability every day. I know Sally and I laugh about it because it'd be 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm still in my office in the house, and I'm studying or doing research. And she'd walk by and, you still doing that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing it.
Wow.
And lo and behold,
Supporting.
she didn't want to, but I talked her in going back to school to get her doctorate.
Wow. Husband and wife
Right.
doctorates. Okay.
And so, but the beauty of it is this, though. I would walk by the office at 3 in the morning. She didn't. I said, you still doing that? Oh, man, that ain't nothing. Right? So she has a doctorate in nursing, and my wife, she's smart as hell. She really is.
Wow.
And so, it's man, God, I never could have thought of anything like this, man.
Yeah,
when we were back playing, and before, I never could have thought of, man, I'd be blessed with a woman like this, a life like this. All my kids and grandkids know who I am. I love them. They love me. I have a great life, man. Honestly.
Everybody's just so proud of you in terms of just and I can personally relate as someone who's gone through substance abuse himself, and I know just the commitment it takes to kind of pull yourself out of that, but then you've taken it to that next level and become just a bright shining example to players. Just how much they can accomplish. You know what I mean? If they have the resilience that you talked about, the mindset just to work through obstacles, man, all the good life lessons, man, that sports kind of centers on. You've lived out in your life, man, and you're a living example of that, man. And it's just an incredible testimony, man. We appreciate you so much for sharing that with us. You got the documentary, The Education of Lucky Lloyd, is in the works. So when is that scheduled to be completed and circulated for release?
I look at in 2 weeks we will be done. In 2 weeks, we plan on having a private show here in Chicago, but I also want to do one in Milwaukee. Okay. And we're looking at. I looked at the schedule for the Bucks because I like to invite Doc Rivers, of course, and a few of the players. Bobby Portis and I have a great relationship, and other players too, Pat Connaughton. But I like to have it in Milwaukee, also with having the Marquette players there as well. So that's something we'll be looking into in the next couple of weeks. But we're looking at that first and second week of April that we would do both of those showings, and then we're going to try to put it in a few film festivals.
Nice.
I'm telling you, man, I was surprised for it to happen like this because I didn't want to do a damn documentary.
Yeah.
But
you wrote your autobiography. I interviewed I worked with the lady.
I got it right here. Yeah.
Okay. And that's how it kind of sprang forth. I mean, in terms of how it came about.
No, it came about because we were at the NBA Legends All-Star Weekend brunch. And they said, Ernie Johnson says, hey, all former players stand up. And I didn't stand up. And Sally keeps saying, you got to stand up. I was like, no, I don't want to stand up. I always had this thing about only being recognized as a basketball player, honestly. And as soon as it's a little bit different, youth guard, because you're 6'7", 6'8". But anytime you're recognized, Chris, as you can imagine, as a basketball player to play, then all the questions come and all the conversations. I always tell people, man, listen, I'll talk to you about the book I'm reading now. How about you talk about the book you're reading? I won't talk about basketball. But anyway, my friend Mitch, who started this, him and Sally had a conversation. And so he asked me, where after he said, well, why wouldn't you want to stand up? I said, because I want to be more than just a basketball player. And so he came up with the idea, let's do a documentary. And before I even thought about it, I was like, yeah, let's do one. Then I thought about it, but what are we going to do it on? He said, we're going to do it on your life. I was like, whoa. I mean, think about who wants to be seen and heard at the darkest moments and the most vulnerable moments in their life, right? But the more and more I thought about it in this context, when we leave this earth, there's going to be people, some we know and some we don't know, who are going to give a narrative, a perspective about who we were and what we did. And so to me, I said, why not tell your own story? Okay. In spite of what the narrative is going to be, you're telling your own story. And so that is what, with two conditions, I'll just say it real quick. Two conditions. One, it had to be transparent, okay, and authentic. And the second thing, that my kids' voices would not be censored. And he said, well, it's your documentary, no problem. And so we move forward.
And you have held true to that with your kids. Were definitely they keeping it real. They keeping it real. It all came out beautiful, but you know, as we can imagine, there were struggles, there were rough times, there was some resentment, animosity, and I've been through it. I've got kids that I'm still working with.
Very authentic, very authentic. I will say that it was very authentic.
Thank you very much.
And as they say, Lord, our past is our greatest asset, man, and this is going to be a plus and an inspiration, a motivation for so many people watching just kind of the things you went through and where you are now, man. And we just appreciate you so much for spending some time here on Here District, man. Lloyd Walton, man. Dr. Lucky Lloyd Walton, we thank you for stopping by, man, and have a great 2025. And when it comes to Milwaukee, I'll be front row center watching the documentary because I've seen some rough cuts, man, and it is off the freaking chain, bro. So, man, thank you. Thank you, bro. Give our love to Sally, your lovely wife, man, and go ahead.
No, Chris, it's just good seeing you, man.
Same
Peace and blessings to you, man. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you.
Bobby,
Same to you.
Love you, bro. Take care.
Right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Love you too. Thank you, Lloyd.
This has been a Bucks Plus audio production.